All right. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting. Welcome back to chaoschild. So, last time we were here, we left with a kind of a flashback with the class president. She's kind of like reflecting, and I think it's going to be related to how Taku kind of became involved in her life. Because they were both, I guess they were both basically orphans from the earthquake effect, the earthquake. And they were kind of raised in a kind of a halfway home, I think would be the technical term. It wasn't like a foster home. It was somebody who was willing to like help take care of a small collection of children who needed it. It is a foster type program, but a much more humane one than just like a big orphanage or something. So I imagine that's what this is going to be talking about, which is kind of why I stopped here, because I thought it would be interesting to kind of take a look at the flashback in its whole, and it's like, it already been kind of a long episode. Other than that, things were going pretty good. Someone said in a comment before that the Chaos Head events are basically ubiquitous through all of the side adventure series, which is kind of surprising to me. I guess there was like a reference in like Steins Gate, but it's such an offhanded reference. It's odd. It feels odd that something like that would just be kind of like casually mentioned. For instance, they have a time where they're talking about like world lines and how there's like these like axial events that are basically ubiquitous between all the world lines. It's like where a bunch of decisions hinge off of a single point. They often would reflect on the Y2K event being one. Did they mention that the Shibuya earthquake was another? Because it feels like that would be one. I mean, that was essentially what the Noah 2 device was doing, was creating a artificial focal point that then would allow them to dictate the future. That was kind of like the whole gimmick of what they were really ultimately trying to accomplish, which is why the Council 300 got involved in the events in the Senna route. Like, maybe I'm misremembering that, but I could have sworn that, and I just feel it's like an odd, like, yeah, I could see, yeah, I'm sure there were subtle references in Steins Gate, but I still feel like with an event this big, it should have been a bigger event that was like notarized or left in a note. Maybe it was, and I just don't recall it though. Like it's been a long time, and something like that might have gone right over my head because I didn't have the context for it, and there was so much other stuff to focus on. So I don't know. Sorry if that's been annoying to you all. I'm just doing my best here, but you know, there's only so much I can really manage. Anyway, I don't think there's anything else I could say other than the fact, let's jump right in, see how this goes, and kind of, ideally, after we get this flashback, we're going to see kind of what happened after the police, interrogated everybody. And where are we going to go from here? Now that we kind of have a good understanding as the newspaper club that this is going to keep happening, are we going to try and stop it? We're going to try and understand it? Or are we just going to get swept up in stuff because we are? We'll see. Anyway, November 7th, 2009. Oh. Takuru, so he was there, but just really quiet. I mean, trauma doesn't describe these kinds of things. I wanted water. I could still feel the sensation of the dead woman I'd touched when I'd fallen on my hands, and I wanted to wash it off. I wanted to wash my face, too. The wind from all the flames had blown something small into my eye, and it itched badly. I was thirsty, too. Sedaka was on my back, and she showed no signs of waking up. So Sedaka was already a part of his life. So, like, they were literal childhood friends. And so does that mean that Sedaka also lost her family? Like, is she also in this halfway house? Like, were all three of them together there? Or could all of them have been? That would be interesting. What if all the newspaper club were like orphaned by this tragedy? There are like 5 of them total, right? So maybe that's the case. Maybe that is what it is. God, so it's good. It is weird seeing this again. My legs were at their limit, so I forced my way through the crowd and sat down on a tire that rolled nearby. It smelled like burning rubber. I didn't have the energy to apologize to the people I ran into. And they didn't have the energy left to complain. When I slowly brought Sedaka to rest on my knees and looked around, I saw an orange light. The light of the fires reflected off many things. It was pretty, I thought, before I realized how inappropriate that was. For some reason, I started to count the bodies on the ground, not knowing if they were alive or dead. But in less than 5 seconds, I'd gotten way over 10 and realized how futile it was. I stopped. Shibuya Station was utterly destroyed. The 107 building, which was only a few minutes away by foot, was ruined as well. The 5 whole hours after the earthquake, the chaos had only increased. There were fewer people out walking, but I wasn't sure if that was because they'd reached safety or because they'd collapsed from exhaustion. I saw someone carrying his own severed arm in a convenience store bag. Oh my gosh. Like, that's insane. But it's actually like a real thing. There's accounts. And like, for example, there's accounts in World War II, and they utilized it actually in some of the imagery they used for the movie Saving Private Ryan, which is supposed to be like a really harsh but accurate like depiction of the D-Day invasion on Normandy. And there's even a scene there where, because it was based on a recounting of soldier seeing a soldier's arm getting blown off, the soldier like in a stupor, then picking up and carrying around his own like severed arm in like shock, and I guess like he kept repeating to the medic that was trying to, you know, stop the bleeding of his like severed arm, saying that like he couldn't leave it behind because it was his, you know, like it's crazy, but that's not an unbelievable thing for someone to do. I saw people ignore a barefoot woman as she cradled a baby whose head was smashed in. Oh my gosh. Some had outright given up on sanity and were flinging things into the fire. A group of middle-aged businessmen were dragging a young girl into the darkness. A young man went to join them. Yeah, I agree. That's what ISA saw too. There's no other way to describe it. This was hell. When people are pushed to like the uttermost limit and it feels like all sense and reason is left, sometimes like the real monsters come out. Normal everyday people who for some reason respond to crises and just turn into monsters, who just apparently had always been wanting to do things that but they felt like couldn't because they, you know, would have consequences. As soon as they feel like they can get away with it, they just do it. It's disgusting. And it's all too common. And it's all people too. A lot of times people will look at this type of stuff or hear about crimes and try and attribute them to certain cultures or nationalities or religious practitioners, but no, it's everybody. All humans. Aww. She looks older than I would expect her to be here at this moment, but okay. Seneca moaned a little in my lap. I slapped her cheeks to wake her up.
Onoe! Onoe!
Her face was warped in agony. It was okay. She was breathing. She was okay.
これから代々木に向かうから。ほら、あの大きい総合病院。覚えてるだろう。昔冒険しに忍び込んだあそこだよ。
Wonder what's wrong with her. Instead of answering, she just moved her eyebrows a little. I swore I'd lifted her up on my back again. She didn't seem to be that badly hurt, but this kept happening. Maybe she's having a gigalomaniac, you know, like where like they tend to be a lot more dramatically affected by the oh shoot, what did they call it again? The melt. That's what it was. I read on Twippo that the general hospital in front of Yoyogi Station was accepting patients injured in the earthquake. I didn't know that it was true, but I had no choice but to go. It had to be better than the hell that Shibuya was now.
死ぬなよ.
I yelled, unsure if Sedaka could even hear me, and started walking. I just needed to get to the hospital. Oh, what the? What was that? What was that? That looked oddly familiar. What was that? That was like Twin Tails. And was that also that wasn't the hospital that was the was that the same hospital that we would visit, that where you know, Takumi, the original Takumi was? Like, that's the same hospital? It's hard to recall that. But that image too, like that was a testing chamber. It looked a lot like the one ISA was in. So who was that? With the long pink hair. Huh. Interesting. Lots of secrets here. I leapt up. I quickly glanced at the left and right as I tried to calm my racing heart. I saw that was in my own bed. Turns out Taku is a big hero. I felt exhausted. I also felt really thirsty. Maybe it was because I'd had that dream again. I searched around until I found a bottle of water by my bedside, took a gulp, then grabbed the phone off my bed to check the time.
0時17分。もう日付変わってるのか。
It was around noon when the police had let me go from Shibuya station with a warning. I'd gotten home and went straight to bed, so it seemed I'd been out of it for over more than 12 hours. This was no good. Maybe I'd slept too long, or maybe I hadn't slept enough because my head felt like it was filled with lead.
いや、違うか。
I put my hands up to the thin light that was coming through the window and checked their color. They were the same as always. There was no blood on them. Oh, I'm sorry, dude. I suddenly felt like I wanted to throw up. I hoped another drink of water would help, but it didn't. Thought for a moment, then I decided to turn the light on the room lights. I turned to my laptop. I searched for foods or drinks that help with nausea. The internet gave me a page after page of results. I checked a bunch of pages, just like you're supposed to when you're looking something up.
生姜か。なら源さんからもらった葛根湯があるか。
I looked under the sink until I found the konkoto powder, then poured it into a cup and added some hot water from an electric kettle. It had a strange smell, unlike anything I was used to. I took a sip. I could tell that my hands were shaking a little as I held the cup. Dang it. That wasn't the first time I've seen a body. I checked the phone again and saw there were several messages from Serika and Kurusu. I was about to respond, but stopped. They were probably still up, but I didn't feel like talking to anyone. I felt like the air I'd breathed in the Love Hotel yesterday was deep inside me. Along with the cheerful melody of the music box and the red that covered my vision, I felt something strange on my cheek and put my hand up to feel it. It was a bandage. I'd gone to some kind of clinic with the police station where they'd put it on. They told me I must have hit my face hard on the floor when I'd passed out. I was unlucky enough to scrape my cheek against a piece of shattered glass. Thankfully, it wasn't a big wound. It barely hurt at all. But it itched like hell. And each time I itched, the shock I'd felt back then came rushing back and my heart would start racing. The danger was long gone, but I couldn't forget the terror. I'd almost been caught up in something horrible. I mean, you kind of were. You didn't get like directly involved in the actual committing, but you were pretty much involved. No, I'm fine. I'm fine, right? I'm not like everyone else. I'm not an amateur. I went through that hell I just dreamed about and survived. Maybe having that nightmare again was good for me. I managed to force down the urge to vomit and clicked away for the computer. I opened my computer's TV program, changed the channel to the news program, and watched it on my monitor. A few months ago, I'd bought a USB TV tuner off a homeless guy who had no idea what it was worth. All it cost me was dinner at a local restaurant. Just like I thought, there was an article about the events of 2 days ago. All it said was that a man's body was found in Noganzaka Love Hotel. They didn't say whether it was suicide, murder, or just an accident. There was nothing about the girl who had been found at the scene. Or about me and Serika. I see.
やっぱりこんなもんなのか。
I never experienced for myself the gap between what happened at a crime scene and what was reported on TV, but it didn't really surprise me. These days, the internet was a lot faster at reporting things than TV. To people who followed the news online, TV wasn't a place to learn new things. It was where you went to see if something you'd heard was so important that it was getting TV coverage. I guess that is kind of validating. I closed the TV program and opened a browser. Nico Neon News had something on it too. I clicked on the upload video.
渋谷でまた事件です。最近の渋谷では今回の件と合わせて3つの物騒な事件が発生しているんですが。
Just like always, it was Watabe, the attention-seeking internet reporter. He was famous for charging into crime scenes and getting scoops. Lately, he seemed to be getting a little too cocky. He explained what had gone on at the Love Hotel. The video showed pictures that he had probably taken himself.
いずれにせよ、警察は何か隠していると思います。ただ変死体を発見したとしか発表がなされていませんが、それにしては。
And then, like always, he started to mix in his own subjective opinions with the news. He was right. The police were hiding something, but there was little point in listening to the rest of this. Vague information would just get in the way.
大衆もこんなもんか。
I mostly ignored Watabe's voice as I looked at the video on the screen. You must have gotten it by charging into the hotel room.
何だったんだ、あれは。
I thought back to what had happened. Yeah. A man strangled to death in his room. There was an unconscious girl and the police officer there as well. The girl was the most obvious suspect. Even if she chose a strange way to do it, she must have been the one who killed him, right? No, she definitely killed him. Then they would have announced that. She was arrested just like I was. Over 30 hours had passed. Even if they'd found out she was innocent, they should have announced that. The police believe that a girl with him may know something and are proceeding with their investigation. You know, like that. Did the police think that she didn't do it? Then what was she doing in the room? And even if the police had told me during the interrogation that I'd imagined it, I knew what I'd heard. Someone else had visited that room and knocked on the door. The sound was eerie and always had the same rhythm. Like, could you, like, summon them by, like, doing the knock? I felt a cold chill and idly turned toward the door. We go positive or negative this time. My room was the same as always. I think we did positive last time. I like the positive ones more, but I think we need to throw in some negative ones here or there. There was no sign of anyone approaching it. I listened carefully to see if I could hear anything outside. Nothing.
だよな。気にしすぎだ。
Huh? I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The doorknob spun on its own. The door opened. I couldn't believe it, but I'd forgotten to lock the door. Someone was here. Who? Was it Seneca or Jen-san? Or someone who had something to do with what happened yesterday? Was it okay for me to just stand here? Oh, hello. So you're gonna be the Yuri of this not Yuri, the Yuna of this game, who we think you're just a bad enemy from the get-go, even though you're probably innocent. Interesting. A small shadow slipped through the gap in the open door and came inside. Who was this girl? Our eyes met, and then I realized that I should have looked away. Oh boy.
君は誰だ?
Her eyes were blank and out of focus. It was like she was looking at me, but she wasn't really seeing me. Her skin was so pale, she looked sick. She was mumbling something. She had something behind her back. It was a knife over 20 centimeters long. Shoot. Shoot. She was insane! And then I remembered. I remembered who she was. She was the girl at the crime scene. What is she doing here? Oh, yeah, sure. Oh boy. Well, here we go. Mm-hmm. She leapt at me without warning. Felt a terrible pain in my solar plexus. I looked down and saw the knife was embedded deep in my chest. She giggled as she pulled the knife out. Again. And again. The knife went in. How could I die like this? It's insane, I thought to myself.
バカバカしい。
That's never gonna happen. Yeah, no way, none. I kept telling myself that as I went over and locked the door. It's just like how after you saw a horrific movie, you ended up afraid of going to the bathroom at night. One theory is that your scary experience like that throws the brain into overdrive and causes it to emit too much dopamine, which triggers strong delusions. Basically, I was overthinking it. Nothing crazy like that was actually gonna happen. That was physically impossible. That's not true. Physically impossible. Definitely not the case with this. Very unlikely. Yes. Physically impossible? No. It was gonna be fine. Just fine. I took a deep breath, managed to calm myself down. Crap, that's right. It's a new day.
ネットの知識者はどうだ?
I quickly opened another site. Shibuya News. It was a private news site I trusted the most. Programmed to bring you the latest in Shibuya news. I pray you spend tomorrow in a way you won't regret. And then some of the ads are the key to the kitty cat's heart. Nobu bar, a slice of Hazanma, just for you. Only a few blocks from Kyoto Station. The secret to mastering battle is you. Full armor set available now for only one RYU. I'm not sure what that is. Are you ready to dive into the waters of Okinawa? Just one bite and you'll be hooked. If you're on a diet, stay far away. Oh wait, I didn't read that line, I'm sorry. It was always updated at midnight every day. The quality of the news and the reliability of the updates made it far more useful than TV or the mass market sites. Online news was faster than TV, but of course, some sites were better than others. There was no end to the number of wrong-siders who would treat the net as a single entity that was the opposite of TV. The TV says one thing, but the internet says something else, they'd say. If you ask me, they were utter morons. These days, even a lot of the larger sites online aimed for the same mass market as the TV news did. That's very true, actually. Look at what YouTube became. If you've been around long enough, you'll see that YouTube started out as being this, like, people sharing videos, to people sharing videos and there were ads and they were making tons and tons of money. And then they started promoting. Oh, what was it? I think the beginning of it was when they stopped, they tweaked the algorithm and it started like artificially favoring clips from like late night TV and news channels and political ads and mainstream medias. Like they were like these mainstream like mass media sources were then on front page of YouTube all the time, every day, all day. And it just stopped being about the normal creator, despite the fact that the normal creators were making the majority of the money for the platform. It's just so stupid and funny how the YouTube decided that was where they were gonna go trust their money. He's like, not gonna really the irony that like people could have been watching the TV if they wanted to watch that stuff. They were watching YouTube because they wanted something different. It was critical that you found out for yourself which sites could really be trusted. Just like the name implied, Shibuya News dealt with the ongoings around Shibuya. It was similar enough to our newspaper club that everyone in the club knew about the site and used it regularly. Its owner, Kei-san, was, how should I put it, very skilled at getting and sharing information and seeing its effects. Kei. She carefully calculated when to send and when to receive information. A lot of websites effectively use Shibuya News as a parent page, linking to it constantly. Most of them were privately run news sites as well. Kei. So Kei's female. What if she's the blonde girl? What if she was there trying to get a scoop? What if she saw the pattern like we did and she ended up, like, maybe she's got more information so she was able to get there faster, but it meant that she got full blast by whatever the psycho nonsense that caused the incident was, which is why she was kind of crazy. Alright, so parent page. The first, typically most broad web page of a website. Following the parent page, secondary pages known as child pages go into more detail about specific information presented in a primary page, and tertiary pages called grandchild pages go into more detail about specific information presented in the secondary page. This website structure is incredibly popular with news organizations. As a result, a huge number of people saw the information that Kei-san spread. To put it more unkindly, Kei-san was manipulating them. Anytime Kei-san wrote about the popular shop among high school students in Shibuya or the free smartphone app, I would hear people at school talking about it within a few days. Take, for example, the Twipo user that most of Hekiko Academy follows, HekikoBot. It described itself as a bot by Hekio students, but from the number of times it would show up on Shibuya News, my guess was it was actually run by Kei-san. She was one of the few people I recognized as a right-sider. When something important was going on in Shibuya, first you checked the TV shows to get the basics, then the mass market sites to see what the net was saying. Then you would go to Shibuya News for the latest information. This was about the way the newspaper club, and myself specifically, would always look for information.
やっぱり放送してるか。
The quality of the news wasn't the only reason Shibuya News was popular. One reason was that Kei-san seemed to be a girl. Oh, okay, that's it. So when somebody was thought to be a girl in real life, they got a lot more hits than somebody that thought to be a guy. Oh, the dichotomy of like internet though, because it's like, oh yeah, like, oh, you're a girl, well, you're gonna get a lot more like attention, but it's like, what's that attention quality gonna be? Oh, dismissive and like sexist. Oh, bravo! And the other reason was?
耳直しにお送りしたのはファンタズムの在家に契約の血をでした。
Oh, a contract of blood to seal our sin by Phantasm. Yep, we know Phantasm. A gothic punk band that was popular in Shibuya around 2009. It's a group of 4, but only the names of the vocalist, Fez, and the guitarist, Ryo, have been made public. Even in 2015, Phantasm still has some passionate fans. It's radio broadcast. Whenever there was something big she wanted to report on, she would always do an internet radio broadcast. It offered proof that she was a girl. Her voice was calm and soothing to the ear. A lot of people just listened for her broadcasts. The audio from the audio bleed case that I'd played for Kurusu had actually been modified by Kei-san to be easier to understand.
さて、普段かけないファンタズムさんの楽曲をかけたのは理由があります。
You know, another person that Kei-san could be. What if what's the name of the gamer girl? Like, who never says anything. What if this is just her voice? Like, wouldn't that be really funny? If the whole time she's just been in the newspaper club?
昨日、ラブホテルで20代の男性が変死していた事件、ご存知ですよね。ニコニアニュースで相変わらず渡部さんがお元気に喋ってくださってますが。
I chuckled a little. His glory hogging was a running joke among Nikkyo-nyan news viewers.
一つ、彼は気づいていないことがあります。ファンタズムさんが先ほどの楽曲を発表した6年前、渋谷で何が起こったか、皆さんご存知ですよね。
Right, it was about the new gen killing, so she's probably made that connection too. Again, part of me thinking it's the gamer girl that we like already know.
そう、渋谷地震です。でも、その前に世間を賑わせていたのは、ニュージェネレーションの狂気と呼ばれた連続猟奇事件でした。
Yep, she's noticed. I was startled. Crap, that's right. I'd forgotten about everything that had happened at the Love Hotel. No way.
もうお気づきの方もいらっしゃいますね。9月7日のこっちみんな。9月19日の音漏れたん。そして昨日。正確に言えば一昨日ですが、9月29日の変死事件。
Yep.
6年前の事件と日付が一致しているんです。
There you go. In that second, the Twipo stream that was linked to the broadcast lit up. It was overflowing with comments. It's kind of too bad, because he had noticed that pattern before, and he wasn't able to break the news. That would have been annoying. That's gonna be kind of annoying.
次の日付は、ヴァンパイアと呼ばれた事件が起きた10月10日。愛する渋谷にお住まいの皆さん、くれぐれもお気をつけて。それでは、今回はこの辺りで。お付き合いいただきありがとうございます。わずかな時間のお相手は私 K さんでした。時刻は間もなく2015年10月1日0時30分。悔いのない一日が始められることを祈っています。
Yeah, I wonder if she always signs off like that, or if it's like special. Spend a day spend tomorrow in a way you won't regret. She signed off in her usual way, and the broadcast ended. She got me. That's right, the hypothesis was why I'd forced my way into the Love Hotel. And something had happened, just like I thought. After 3 such incidents, it was only natural to assume there might be a connection. The new generation madness. Seven. Was it gonna happen again? No, it's already happening again. I suddenly felt a pain in my cheek. I reached up and saw the blood was coming out from the side of the bandage. The cut must have opened. That's odd. As I took care of it, the red blood on my fingers stood out. Without warning, I felt a horrible sense of dread, like I was sinking into quicksand. Usually, I love to have a mystery to solve, but now that case was definitely real. I hesitated. For the rest of that night, I wasn't able to do any more research about the case. Interesting. Alright, well, this is gonna be good. Crime. The 3rd death in Shibuya can mean a serial killer's on the loose. 3 suspicious deaths in Shibuya this month line up with the dates of the new generation madness. The 4th death is predicted to occur on 10/10. Let's see. New generation madness. Holy crap. First, seriously. Thread archived. Oh yeah. Heck yeah. Let's see. Scroll down. It's happening. GIF. Somebody call me. Oh, like who's this? Oh, it's just anonymous still. Reproduction prohibited. Kei-san's so smart. Oh man, I'm getting goosebumps. Wow, it's real. How did no one notice? Summary of Kei-san's podcast. The dates of the new generation incident 6 years ago matched 3 deaths so far. The pattern continues. Something will happen on 10/10. Group dive and don't look. Man-child and audio bleed. Crucifixion, Love Hotel incident. Vampire and question mark. Festival time. No time to eat. Yeah! Let the carnival of miracles begin. New gen. This is true. Isn't that scary as crap? Hang on. Let's go do it. I want to know more about the 3rd death. Was it Nasty's audio bleed? Kei-san, you're so smart. Let's get married. Whose eyes are those eyes? Stop it. Don't be bringing that in here. This hollowed crowd. I got so excited listening to Shibuya News. Okay. You degenerates. I had the same feeling. I think this means another earthquake's coming. I want to see this episode, the Esper 6 years ago in front of the station. I was in college then. Now I'm unemployed and stay at home all day. The fun's about to start again, huh? So he went to see Taku on the banner. Dang, Shibuya's doomed. I'm Kei-san's dad. That means they'll cancel the Restoration Festival. You guys make me sick. People are dead. What the fetch are you happy about? Don't look. Number 10, don't look. Who is 10? Oh. Yeah, the eyes, maybe? Like, whose eyes are those eyes? I call BS. I thought Kei-san was smarter than this. I'm disappointed. It's been 6 years and it's time to drag this out again. The return of the new generation madness. It can't bear it. Little bear. Return of the new generation madness. Don't look. 1, don't look. Return to the new generation madness. 2, audio bleed. Return to the new generation madness. 3, name coming soon. To be continued. First of all, nude generation. That was something that we saw Grimm doing before, right? Like, Grimm can't be here, though. She gone. October 1st, 2015, Thursday. The same time. Shibuya Police Station.
いい加減答えてくれないかな。
Yeah.
名前と住所は？
Who are you, anyway? Interesting.
学生さん？それとも働いているのかな？あの柿田っていう男の人と何回もあのホテル行ってるよね。どういう知り合い？付き合ってたの？
Oh, interesting. Because she's a student like us. That's super weird.
もし喋るのが嫌なら、うなずくとか手を振るとか何でもいいからさ。ね？どうなの？
The officer sank back in her chair in resignation. Shinjo could sympathize.
なるほどな。
He'd just come to check on her moments ago, but they'd been probably doing this since yesterday. Locked in an interrogation room, cut off from the outside world, and questioned by multiple officers, most people would lose their cool. They'd start to wonder what effect their words were having and focus on every moment of the officers who was taking down notes. Even if it wasn't hot in the room, they'd start to sweat. But this girl didn't respond at all. It probably wasn't because she was used to it. If she's ever been interrogated before, the fingerprints they'd taken would have told them who she was.
新庄さん。
ん？
やはり連れて行った方が。
To a mental hospital, you mean? It made sense. The natural assumption was the shock of the incident had incapacitated her. Shinjo nodded after considering it.
捜索願いは？
This was the second day since the incident. If she lived a normal family environment, someone should have submitted a missing persons report by now.
洗いました。ですが当たりません。
Shinjo watched the girl as he listened to her talk, but the girl didn't move a muscle.
家庭のことを言外に含ませても動きなしか。
The normal ways weren't going to work then. She'd been sent to the hospital by dawn at this rate.
ご苦労さん。こっちで留置しておくからもういいよ。
The other officers couldn't hide her happiness as she left the room. Shinjo sat down in the chair that she'd been sitting in and took a good look at the girl from the front. She was ignoring him and still looking down at the desk. She didn't even seem to notice or care that the person in front of her had changed. Shinjo remembered his conversation with Momose. After he'd hung up, she'd called back in precisely 3 minutes, just like she'd promised. And then she'd said, "My kid has a message for you." So, is what she says. So Momose's talking to a girl and one of our kids. That feels like it could be like one of our core team, right? Unless it's somebody new completely.
それだけですか？どういう意味です？
いいからそう聞いてごらんなさい。それで今の新庄ちゃんのような反応をしたり、変わらず黙ったままだったりしたら、残念だけど、非感知しか取る手段はないそうよ。
Interesting. So some kind of phrase might be the one thing that can get her to respond.
もし別の反応をしたら、もう一度連絡をちょうだい。
All right. What are we gonna say? What's the magic what are the magic words? The message didn't make much sense, but he didn't see any other way.
一つ聞きたいことがあるんだ。
There was no response, of course. He continued, uncertain she was even hearing him.
君は持っているものに気づかれなかったのか、元から持っていないのか、どっちだ？
Do you have it but didn't realize it, or have you never had it? What? Uh-oh. Her eyes moved. Instead of looking down at the desk, she was looking at Shinjo. Shinjo was surprised, but he did his best to hide it.
どうなんだ？
The girl stared at him as if trying to figure him out. And then a moment later.
誰なんですか？あなたは。
Okay. Her words were quiet but sharp. It was the same tone of voice that Shinjo used when he was interrogating a suspect.
ここの刑事だ。君、名前は？
She seemed to be thinking about something as she stared at him. Her mannerisms were just like his own again. It was the same way a detective faced a criminal, trying to gain every scrap of information with what he could see. And then she slowly opened her mouth.
有村ひなえ。碧峰学園の学生です。
She is a student. So, if it's true that she was meeting up with that guy at the Love Hotel like repeatedly, that's... Oh boy. Interesting. So she's a classmate. I left the RV where I lived alone, only then did I realize it was evening. Sunlight must have been pouring into my room, but I hadn't noticed. I didn't really remember when I'd gone to sleep or when I'd woken up.
大丈夫だな。
I looked around to make sure none of the scenery had changed and walked up the steps in front of me. Miyashita Park was just a few minutes walk from Shibuya Station. It was also known as a homeless park. It was where I lived after I left the dorm. The first floor was a huge parking lot. The second story was a futsal field. Is that supposed to be football? A futsal field and a climbing wall had been mostly abandoned during the recovery efforts after the Shibuya earthquake. After the earthquake, people who had lost their families, who had never had any family to begin with, gathered here en masse. Mitake Park, which is right next door, was supposed to be the evacuation point for this area, but Miyashita had always been a mecca for the homeless, so everyone gathered here. When people gathered, so did many different things. Containers filled with food, blankets, and tents, even a trailer with an RV that was left behind when its owner fled Shibuya. Every part of the park was overhauled to create a place for people to live. The parking lot, the futsal field, the climbing wall, etc. And next thing anyone knew, there was a society there that was big enough for the government couldn't force them out. Then some group of idiots came around and tried to turn the place into a temporary housing. That was shot down in less than a month. As a result, even though you could find beautifully rebuilt skyscrapers just a street away, Miyashita Park became one of Japan's biggest slums, a place where those with no home would gather and stare up at the lights.
これいいですか?
I spoke to a man who sold newspapers, magazines, and everything else as I picked up a newspaper which had today's date on it, October 1st.
お、タク、珍しいな新聞なんて。いいぞ、持ってけ。
いいんですか?
どうせ余るしな。それにほれ。
He showed me the snacks and alcohol at his feet. He must have sold a lot today. There were lots of people in the park who had enough money that they could have stayed in a capsule hotel if they wanted to.
ああ、してんならできれば別のとこにな。ゴミにうるさくなってるからよ。
I thanked him and went to leave.
おいタク、電気代か。
はい。そうですけど。
ならついでに俺の分も頼む。南のまっちゃんからだっつって渡してくれ。
Uh-huh. He handed me a 1,000 yen bill. I nodded, took it, and headed deeper into the park with my newspaper. Oh, so his name was Machan. Miyashita Park was divided into north and south halves by a road. He said he was from the south. That must mean that there was a Machan on the north side who I hadn't met yet. It's odd that he doesn't know that guy's name, but that guy knows his name. The administrative office to the south side. Just like the name implied, it was where all the administration was done for Miyashita Park. I kept things peaceful between the government and the park's occupants, resolved disputes between the homeless, and maintained all the facilities at the park. I knew the woman there by her face, but not her name, gave her the electric bill which was due on the first of the month along with Machan's part. Life in the park might seem carefree and lawless from the outside, but it was actually much stricter than you'd find in some families.
はいよ、確かに。はみ出たり、勝手に住み着こうとしているやつは?
Everyone who lives in the outer rim of the park, including me since I lived on the far south, had been asked by the management to keep an eye out for that.
大丈夫だと思います。
When I'd looked earlier, I hadn't seen anything change around my place.
最近物騒だからね。気をつけなよ。見慣れないやつがいたらすぐに言いな。
Dang. What a wholesome way to have a homeless encampment, right? I mean, I'm sure it's got a lot of negativity to it at the same time, but this a not overtly hostile construction firms and government kind of allowing things to be as long as it's maintained in a relatively balanced manner. And I mean, it's pretty good.
知ってんだろ？ラブホテルの事件とか。
はい、わかりました。
I was startled but quickly nodded. I suddenly felt like they were criticizing me for hiding something. The corridor that connected the north and south ends of the park. This place, which overlooked Meijidori, was one part I hadn't really changed since before the earthquake. There were cracks here and there, but the government had forbidden people to put things here because it would ruin the view and might not be safe. I leaned up against the rail and spread open the newspaper from the setting sun and shining down on me. There was a column on the front page about the Love Hotel incident, but no new information. There was nothing in the article about the girl who was found at the scene or how this could be related to what happened 6 years ago. Had they not figured that out yet? Or maybe they had and they just weren't announcing it? If they had something to do with the incidents from 6 years ago, then so did Don't Look and Audio Bleed. Did that mean they weren't suicides? If the killer had driven them to suicide, that would probably be the same person behind 3 incidents, but was he working alone or as part of a group? Or maybe people who were somehow related to the incidents from 6 years ago were killing themselves one after the other. Maybe I should look at what the 3 cases have in common again. He's gonna be terrified of her. Dang it, what the hell? My hand went up to the new bandage on my cheek. I rubbed it several times to make sure it was still there. I took out my smartphone. The data I had recorded at the scene had been deleted by the police. I probably should have just counted myself lucky they didn't take the phone itself. I'd lost my best clue to the case.
追うべきじゃないってことなのかな。
Maybe this was just out of my league. Maybe it would be stupid to get involved. Aww. So it looks like there's 4 of them. Who's that guy? Like, it's like weird because he looks so oddly familiar. But the crazy thing is that he's clearly a scientist. So is he like Nozomi or ex-Nozomi? What was his role? Maybe he's a doctor. They might have mentioned he was a doctor before. And then these 2 littler kids, right? Who were... Is the girl... That's not Onoe, is it? I don't think so. Suddenly I got a call on my phone. I checked the name and hit the answer button.
はい。もしもし。
Where are you? What the?
お主か。もう来ておるぞ。いつもの席じゃ。
Wait, what? Who are you, small, tiny child? In a weird outfit.
どうも。
As always, the waitress' appearance and mannerisms were a mystery to me. I bowed to her and went to my seat. Who? What? What is happening? Sedeko was already there, reading a manga. She was fiddling with her Ghetto Froggy cell phone strap without realizing it, as usual. It really was a strange habit, and a nuisance to the people around her. Cafe Lax was the preferred hangout for the newspaper club. It's just a 10-minute walk from the Shibuya station. The owner was a manga fan, and the walls were lined with many volumes. There was a free Wi-Fi, the prices were good, and if it wasn't crowded, you could sit there for hours as long as you bought a single drink. The most important part was that since it was a hard-to-find spot, barely anybody from Hikako knew about it. So I didn't have to worry about running into anyone I knew. As usual, there was barely anyone there. Alright, so... I'm gonna try to read this real quick, actually. It says, thank you, and... Is it... something louder? And then there's like a wedding ring? I don't know what that's supposed to be trying to say. There's like gunpla robots of the wall. Just a single couple that appear to be in college. Hey, there she is. I ordered my usual mountain view and sat down.
何読んでるんだ？
ああ、タク。そう。なんだろうこれ。
は？
I don't know, I just picked it up.
適当に撮ったから。
Sedeko went to put the manga back on the shelf, then came to sit down.
はい、これ制服。のんちゃんから言われてクリーニングしといたから。
Yeah, good to see you, Onoe.
悪いな。
I took the bag containing my uniform from Sedeka. It was a uniform that had gotten covered with blood at the Love Hotel.
今日、学校は？
行ってないよ。タクもでしょ？
No. I nodded. I hadn't felt like it at all.
のんちゃんたちに連絡は？
メールはしといた。
When I got up this morning, I sent both of them a text saying I was okay. They both sent back responses almost immediately, but neither of them said much about what happened. They probably weren't mentioning it for my sake.
で、どうだ？大丈夫か？
まあ、死んでる人を見るのは初めてじゃないし。
Yes, neither. Mine neither. Why are you slurping so loud? Sedeka spoke in a normal tone of voice as she drank her favorite grapefruit juice. Hey, oh, alright. I like you a lot. Onoe and I are on the par. Grapefruit juice is the bomb, and no one can tell me otherwise. Grapefruit juice is amazing. It's very like tart, but like I love it. She didn't seem like she was lying. That's how she'd always been ever since she was a kid. It wasn't that she didn't have any feelings, she just got over them very quickly.
タクは大丈夫？
Now that she asked, I wasn't sure how to answer the question. The waitress brought me my Mountain View. Who are you? Little demon. I nodded and took it. Was I okay?
嘘マジで？それ最低じゃん。
Who's that?
マジ超焦ったっつーの。空気読めっつう話でさ。
I spun the ice in my drink as I listened to the couple's irritating conversation. Seneca silently waited for my answer. I knew that face. She'd been my friend since we were kids. There's no point trying to hide. Aw. At least he's honest.
迷ってるって何を？
Jacko seemed genuinely shocked.
本当に？すいません。グレープフルーツもう一つ。
Seneca raised her hand and ordered another drink.
いつものタクだったらチャンスだとか思って突っ走ってない？
Yeah. That might be true, but things were different this time after what I'd gone through.
そりゃホテルは怖かったけどさ。
Seneca continued as if she knew exactly what I was thinking.
昔都市伝説とか追っかけてた時もそうだったじゃん。ほら冒険だって言って病院に忍び込んだの覚えてる？
Oh yeah? I nodded. I just had a dream about it. Oh my gosh, the dream! So he snuck into a hospital and he saw like those experiments that were like, and they looked like the old ones from ISA where they were probably again trying to initiate or trying to trigger gigalomaniacs. Oh no!
あの時も怖かったけど、この怖さは他の人が経験してないもんなんだ、貴重なんだって泣きながらさ。
So like, what did you do about that thing? Did you report that?
お前も泣いてたじゃん、あの時。
そうだっけ？ほれ、残すなよ。
Okay.
どうも。
What? Seneca took a glass of juice and gulped it down. It feels so surreal right now. Like, what's happening?
で？
So what?
いや、それで？
何が？
I like you, Onoe. You're really good. I like you a lot. Come on.
あ、そっか。だからさ、他の人が経験してないことを手に入れたんだからさ、それが怖かろうがなんだろうが、チャンスだってタクなら言うかなって思って。
Okay. Her voice was light as she drank her juice, but her words didn't feel light at all. Something other people hadn't experienced. Something different from other people.
たまに頭いいんだか悪いんだかわからなくなるよな。
The answer is yes. I stared at Seneca's face. How much did she understand about what she was saying?
何？あ、ダメだよ。あげないよ。
She's got some real Estelle Bright energy, doesn't she? She moved the juice away from me. I was wrong. She probably didn't realize anything. Actually, she probably wasn't even thinking about anything. She really was dumb. I mean, maybe, but even if she is, she's at least really fun to be around. Don't worry, I doubt he wants your juice, but if I were there, I'd be like, oh, come on, let me have some.
バイトにんなこと言われてもね。
Can you imagine, like, it's like, it's how I enjoy stories. Like, half the time, I just imagine myself in the shoes of the protagonist, but the other half of the time, I imagine myself as, like, an additional character. This is kind of, like, there. And, like, it would make no sense for another character to be here for this one-on-one, but I could, for some reason, feel like I'm totally there, and also just kind of, like, kind of like moving on for stuff. Like, come on, share. It'd be so goofy.
だろやる気がないのかってねえよ普通に
なあ渋谷地震の被災者のコメントの話ってしたことあったっけ
Oh? What do you mean?
何それ
I swear, she's saying the exact words I'm saying. What's happening here? Is this just me personified in the game, actually? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what... Oh, gosh. I was pretty sure I told her a bunch of times. Well, whatever. Time for a lecture.
地震直後の混乱が収まった後、大量のマスコミが被災者に対して押しかけただろ。まだカオスチャイルド症候群者っていう言葉がなかった頃に。
Right. Of course, I've been in a coma for about a year after the earthquake, so I'd only investigated it after I woke up.
その取材の論調の多くは民度の高さを訴えるものだった。これだけの震災にもかかわらず、暴動や略奪などの犯罪がほとんど起きていない。これは得難いことなんだって。
I feel like he witnessed exceptions to that, didn't he? Like, didn't he talk about how, like, as a kid, he saw, like, a bunch of guys drag a girl into an alley and then someone, like, ran in and joined them? Like, that's not the prelude to, like, barely any violence or looting.
実際そうなんだと思うよ。何が今一番辛いですかって聞かれたとき、大半の被災者が地方の家族に自分の無事を伝えてやれないこととか、子供に好物を与えてやれないこととか、とにかく他人を心配しててさ。でも、そんな中で一人の被災者が言ったんだよ。
Okay. I remembered what they said word for word. I had left a huge impression on me.
頑張れという部外者。正直うなずいたよ。心底。
They said exactly what I was thinking. I didn't know who they were, but I admired them anyway. Those feelings were the exact opposite of all the excited, fired up people on the outside. Yeah, well, I mean, it's also like when they're doing these interviews, typically they kind of cut out the opinions that are like more problematic or downers. They want to focus on like the positive spins or the stuff that makes people angry.
これを言った人は僕に近い人だっていう気がするんだ。ただ一連の出来事をネットで見ていた他人とは違う。そして、ただ被災しただけの人とも違う。
What makes you say that?
タクの両親のこと？
But I thought his parents couldn't be part of, like, how could his parents have said something like that if they're still around?
あ、そういえば、復興祭合わせの飲み、テニサーの連中も来るって。
マジで？そしたら絶対タク飲みじゃ無理じゃん。
It was different. I was different than the people who just lived normal lives in Shibuya. I ripped the bandage off my cheek. The wound had closed up. My face was back to normal. I was back to normal. The case was right in front of me. I had a huge mystery to investigate. I wasn't about to just be caught up in something. As a right-sider, it was my job to jump right in the middle of all this information, right? I could feel something like excitement mixed with a sense of duty welling inside me. I couldn't stop myself from smiling.
また危険な目に遭うかもしれないぞ。
事件のこと？
I nodded. Seneca laughed a little strangely. And then, for some reason, she patted me lightly on the shoulder. I didn't know what that meant, but I started to laugh too. Seneca nodded.
よし、それならまずラブホテルの事件から行こっか。
Alright, we're diving in, huh? Seneca took out her Pokécom. She typed into it with a practiced hand. She seemed to be loading a video file. Did she take a video and not tell the cops?
これ、現場でタクが撮ってた録画データ。警察に消される前にストレージに上げておいたの。
Oh my gosh, you're amazing! How did she do that? How did she manage to do that? It's kind of creepy, actually, but very cool. Okay, think this isn't the longest episode we've done, but I think it's a decent place to end. Just like, it's kind of like, sorry, pulling us all back together, kind of getting his resolve, and now the investigation truly kicks off and begins. That was pretty fun. Interesting. Ooh, I'm very excited to see where this is gonna go and all the players and the pieces involved. So who's the blonde girl? Like, her name was weird. I can't even remember what it was. But why did she respond to that line that was given? And if that line was given specifically by like one of Momose's kids, like that's gotta be the original cast of the first game, right? Or are they just not gonna make an appearance at all? Like, I could both see the benefit of just having a completely new crew and not being super tied down by the original story, but I also feel like it would be a shame if we never even got to know like what they ended up doing post like, you know, the ending of the game. Like, cause I'm assuming that this is following like the true end, which is, you know, like the one we unlocked at the very end of the series after we've done all the branches. And if that's the case, then like, yeah, they should be still around, right? And if like new gen killings are starting up again, like I feel like they're either going to be trying to stop it somehow and doing their own investigation, or they might be somehow part of it, which I don't know why they would be, but you know, they could be. It'll be really fascinating to see how this plays out. But regardless of that, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for being a part of this and like kind of like getting more set pieces, more interesting information. You know, we're getting into the meaty gritty and we're gonna see how this all goes and kind of, I don't know. I'm not where I was with Chaos Head at this point, where I was finding everything in Chaos Head around this time of the story to be fascinating and interesting, but I wasn't quite convinced it was that like good yet. I was kind of waiting for the shoe to drop, and it eventually did. But I'm already heavily invested in these characters. They're fantastic. They're really well done, and the writing is also just so much better in a lot of ways. So very excited to see where this goes from here. And maybe we'll get to learn more about like how these delusions work. And remember, I was bemoaning in the first game how it was difficult to know what was reasonably possible and not possible, and that's hard to theorize because delusions were just so ambivalent and ambiguous and by their nature. But now, I'm starting to wonder if maybe in this situation, in this setting and scenario, we're going to be able to dive into it more fully and kind of see how things play out. So yeah, very cool. I'm gonna be heavily invested in the coming episodes, I'm sure. So I hope you're looking forward to that. But thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day. And until the next video watching me up, see me next. I'll see you there.